Okay. Welcome to the Grid Culture Podcast, where we talk about Formula One and Formula One fantasy using Grid Rival. Today, we're here to talk about the Monaco Grand Prix, and that one was a doozy, so let's run it.
If by doozy you mean a snoozy, then that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, oh!
Yeah.
But
I
go
ahead.
It's hard to totally say that it wasn't like we knew that going into it that qualifying was going to be the most exciting part of it. Like all the time, it's hard to pass, but having that first lap chaos, the first of all Sainz puncture between Piastri, and then we had the two Haas's and Perez, which is just such a sad moment for Perez. He had such a horrible weekend, and he's already has a bunch of eyes on him. What'd you think?
You said Perez.
Yeah, I mean, other than Perez, just like the whole event was just upsetting because between Perez and Hulkenberg, the two people who really just need to keep it clean and just do a good race,
Yeah, I mean it's I struggle with it because one, Perez should not have been in the backfield regardless. He shouldn't have been out in Q1. The whole incident was really, I don't know. They were trying to go 3 wide in a place that you can't do that, and it bit him in the butt. Like, that's ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what happened. And yeah, I don't know that
I think there's a little bit of.
I looked at it and I was like, because I think everyone's on this like, well, Magnussen's just a fucking cowboy, just like fly by the seat of his pants. But like, he was, I don't know, he should have backed off. And then Perez, I don't know why he was closing in that gap regardless. Like, he was kind of in the middle. I don't know, but regardless, it happened.
There's nothing you can really say. It's like it's I mean, a little bit of Perez, a little bit of Magnussen. Hulkenberg is just a bystander.
Sainz really lucked out though, because if they had completed that lap before that happened, he would have been booked.
Yeah. Like that. Also, him actually reversing and completing the lap helped him too, because he was able to actually go into.
Yeah, if he had been out, he would have been out. But
yeah,
and
then Ocon, that was the other kind of like incident that him just totally thinking he can just overtake when it was wasn't a red flag, like, so I don't understand what he thought he was doing.
Yeah, I totally missed that whole Gasly Ocon incident until Carly pointed it out.
Yeah, it was wild. So he's just coming down. Gasly's just minding his own business, and Ocon's like, I'm just gonna go in front of him. And it's a little bit of this like this rivalry they have, this French rivalry that it's kind of just like it's getting kind of old, and you just need to be a good team in general.
We'll definitely talk about that later.
But, of course. All right, let's get into the race report. The race report this week is pretty interesting. Overall, the biggest shock this week is money value. The amount of value we saw raise. So the most gained is 6.4 million. That is incredible. That is just amount of money, and I saw a lot of that, and I thought I made a lot, and I think I did 4.4 million, and I was like, amazing. That's doing well. But You saw 6 mil, right?
Yeah,
It was like
and
six
that's
point
where it's
two.
confusing because it's like I wonder if if Grid Rival did like a recalculation on how much money they're providing because it just seemed to like skyrocket. I have done zero research on why it skyrocketed. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
but
it was,
I
but it was big because Williams fully
yeah
finished, and they were cheap. Albon did really well. Um, yeah, I think that was a big component. Let's see. Yeah, Williams did 2.2 mil, Albon did 2 mil, and Piastri bumped up because of his second
yeah
place.
he had hurt himself with that penalty last race.
Yeah, and good for him, honestly. Like, I love to see Norris up there, and he's like, I really do like Norris as a driver and a pretty big McLaren fan. But it's good to see Piastri up there. He handles himself really well. He's a very calm driver, as we said before on this podcast. Piastri is one of the coolest on the grid. There's no doubt about it. Um, and then, like, another big thing this week is the upsets. The upsets this week was serious. If you had Haas, if you had Magnussen
I
starred
had a
or
Hulkenberg
Hulkenberg
starred. I think
starred,
that's the only thing that totally screwed me.
yeah, if you had any of those, if you had Perez on your top lineup as like a heavy driver, it
So
sucked. And
it looked like Tyler came in first. So let's look at his lineup.
yeah,
Oh, I remember.
the Yuki Tsunoda is pretty
The
big.
Charles Leclerc,
Um,
the Yuki Star, Max Verstappen, and he's not here to talk about it, but the Pierre Gasly one is huge too. That's a huge up.
that one's big. I think he was watching FP3.
Yeah.
I think that he was paying attention because I was too, and I picked up Hamilton.
Yeah.
Because Hamilton was coming in first, second. He was killing it, and this is like his track. Like, he holds the record. So like, I know that he was going to do well. And as soon as he
drivers, right?
Yeah. And the only thing that really messed me up was Stroll. That was, if I would have had anybody but Stroll, he
with the Williams
kind of messed me up. The Williams pickup was also about money.
You didn't have enough money for anything else.
I didn't, but I felt in my heart,
your heart of hearts.
And I also was locked out of Haas. So
yeah, I had
lucky for me.
So then third place is Carly or Box Piastris with. I think she had a very similar lineup. She had Lewis.
See, I should have swapped out Stroll instead of Ricardo, and I got rid of Ricardo first.
Yeah, but that's an easy drop. You know what I mean? He's just like hasn't been performing.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to really pin down Danny Ricciardo, especially in these certain areas. I think he handled himself well, but it's all about that qualifying lap. So
my lineup was pretty much carryover from last week. I just picked up Racing Bulls as my constructor.
See, that I see what you're saying, because Bottas went up 2 mil, and is it only because he actually finished?
Yeah, that's maybe. I mean, because he was priced so low.
I mean, he also finished 13th, so he did have some overtakes. He did give you some points. I mean, actually, yeah. So I guess the mil goes up by the points he does, because he does have the overtakes. I guess that makes sense.
And then the only other one that,
with 4 people out, it really helps.
The other big one that I noticed, and you brought it up before we started, was Mr. Christian's Cocoa Pops bumping up from 16th to 12th.
Yeah, that's a big jump. That's like keeping him in the running, because looking at the point differential, it's like it's like 400 points. It's not too far.
He might have jumped up even
between,
more
like,
if
the
he
top.
had not had Ocon, but even with the star, it still gave him some pretty decent points because he had Ocon.
Yeah.
Who? How much
Yeah,
did
big. Honestly,
yeah, 'cause even
him jumping up is good for
my
him.
Hulkenberg DNF only got me 102. So a DNF from Ocon still got him 164.
Go to here incidentally. I want to see
What,
the.
she just did all bottom feeders.
Yeah, but the bottom feeders got her 6.4. Well, except for Sainz and Piastri.
Wait. She doesn't even have a full lineup. She's got 4 drivers. But she didn't lose any money, so she just didn't make a ton of points. I mean, she made enough points, honestly.
Yeah, but she dropped down.
Because, well, she missed out on, like 100 points. Because her total points were only 728. But she didn't lose any money.
But for value, she gained, Williams' team.
Because how much money did I make?
All right.
6.2 or 6.1. So, I mean, I really was only a little bit off of her. And I think I lost money. I lost 2 mil on Hulkenberg. So if I had, I don't know, picked up Ricardo or something, I would have made a lot of money. Okay.
Yeah. You would have been up, but you were second, so I mean that wasn't too bad in far as money. No. But yeah, I think overall the whole weekend boiled down to that first lap. I think everything, when you think about it, that first lap changed the whole outlook of the race, as far as how it ebbed and flowed, because I think that having 4 drivers off of that would have changed a lot of the landscape, even though we saw towards, I think it was lap 40, Lewis was able to do a whole pit. Yeah. So the gaps were crazy, and I think it was like Yuki was a whole lap behind. Mm-hmm. And everyone behind Yuki was a whole lap behind. So it was just insane. And then on top of everything is Leclerc. I think we gotta mention Leclerc, the champion of Monaco.
Yeah, I mean that's huge. You can just like tell how emotional. Like even there was a video of like the marshals crying, which is, I mean, just it goes to show how proud of them they are.
Yeah, I mean it's big, and he made history. It was like since 1930 something, since an actual born Monegasque driver won in the Principality of Monaco. I think it's impressive, and it's cool to see it. It's like, I'll remember that. Like I remember seeing the Cubs win the World Series, after so many years. I think that that type of impact is big, and it's nothing to be. He's deserved it. I mean, after breaking the curse in 2021, and then or 2022, I think he actually broke the curse. He actually finished the race, and then last year, he was pretty competitive. But yeah. So other than that, I mean, we have some rumors. It's a pretty slow week in Formula One. There's a new thing came out after Monaco that Ocon is possible to be benched for Canada, and reading this article from Sky Sports, it's not looking good, man. I know you were talking about you didn't really see the incident, but I know you watched it over and over afterwards, because it's dumb. Yeah. And he jumped up. That's always sick to see.
It's just unnecessary. It was just like unnecessary. And then it also just goes to show that it's like you can't pass in Monaco. Like, it really doesn't happen.
Even
Yeah,
casually, like,
casually,
oh, okay.
it's very difficult. And I mean, that goes to show. I mean, he was out. I didn't even see it during the race, but I've watched the replays
Yeah.
after, and I'm just like, what was he thinking? I mean, he's come out and like apologized, but it's like, dude, how many times do you need to apologize in a weekend?
Yeah, and I mean we saw this last year. What race was it where they just totally like they restarted the race and then they crashed again? Uh,
Oh,
it's just it's just over and over they have
was it
been
Silverstone?
they've already had this rivalry as these French two, and when they put them on the same team, so like someone's got to grow up, and I think this time Pierre Gasly didn't get caught up in it, and he was kind of just like minding his own business while Ocon kind of leaped in there and tried to be a little bit too aggressive, and I think that might have caused him that seat. I think they're gonna. I don't know who the driver is gonna be, but this is saying from the team boss Bruno, so that's pretty serious and nothing to take lightly because that will change the landscape of them. And I think they're just starting to get a little competitive
Yeah,
with the car. We'll
Gasly's
see.
10th place.
Yeah, I mean, Gasly's worked hard and he's won some things. I think that Gasly's a great driver. He's just hasn't had uh, a beefy car, and same with Ocon. But I think that they might get caught up.
He did have a beefy car. He just didn't perform.
Yeah, that's really true.
Um,
Yeah, and I mean, other than Ocon, the only other rumor that I was able to kind of pull up was Carlos and the Williams offer or Williams interest, um, and I think scary enough, I think that might be his only option if he waits too long. I don't think Red Bull is going to drop Perez. I don't know. That next year does not matter. Like I keep reading, next year is a flop. Next year does not matter because with the new change, it just becomes like a test year, a throwaway year. So Mercedes seat is almost promised to Antonelli. Almost promised.
You're going on the record.
Toto has to almost. Toto has come out and said that he really
Doesn't
wants a younger driver, a new driver.
he just like doesn't want to? He
someone
doesn't want to
to
miss out on the next Max Verstappen like he did with Max Verstappen.
exactly. So I think that, and next year see how he works, see how he rolls, see how he fits in with George. But you know, I think Carlos Sainz is a heck of a driver, and he would be an excellent take for almost any seat on the grid. But I think next year, because it's a weird middle ground year, if he doesn't take a low seat and just to drive, he might not be driving next year. And that's kind of scary, but also, could be the best for him. He could get better. He could start with the team, start driving their new car, start playing with the new, settings, everything. I don't know what that entails as much, but we've seen it with other drivers where they'll test and test and test, and just wait. Basically, Liam Lawson, he got his opportunity. We might see him. We might see him in a Williams.
You know what we do need to talk about is there's only a 31 point difference between Max and Charles.
No way.
There is a 31 point difference. He is coming for that. Like if Red Bull can't get their shit together and pull away the rest of the year, because coming up next we have Canada, which is back to where Red Bull can traditionally dominate. But I don't know. I mean, if they can't pull apart and they still have these reliability issues with their tires, could it be Ferrari's year? Could they win a world championship?
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of season
Yeah.
left. And look, I'm looking at this right now. Norris is 113
Yeah.
to 138. He's got 2 races. If he makes over, say Max, anything could happen, but that's closer than it's been in a
Yeah.
long
If
time.
Max doesn't pull away, which, he may, it may happen, and then it's just a really tight fight for second. I do think it's interesting that it's now, it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's for sure a Ferrari McLaren conversation. It's not a Mercedes conversation. They haven't even broke. George has 54 and Lewis has 42. Like,
Yeah,
they're nowhere in the conversation.
And constructors, it's crazy. Ferrari's 252 and Red Bull's 276.
Yeah, it's close.
So they're only 24 away from.
Which begs the next topic: is will the pressure cave Perez?
Oh, we're already seeing it.
We saw it last year over
not
and
understand
over
the car.
But the only
he starts up
the
so
only
well,
saving grace,
and then he just
is
tanks
that Max is struggling with the car as well.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, I guess Canada will be the true like site to see if Max is still Max, or the other cars have been more competitive and Max is now trying to actually like build it back. Because I don't know if Monaco's a good tell of what we're gonna see, but it is a tighter track, so we will see other tracks close and similar in some ways. So, we'll see. Yeah, and I think that Max is easily, we're just gonna watch another rain. But I have been seeing videos and his interviews. He does kind of seem moved on, and like kind of, he's kind of super just casual, just being like, yeah, dude, like we're just racing, man. This is just cars. He's kind of like growing up to the point where it's just like, he's like, what is this life, man? All I've been doing is driving. It's like,
you know what? The other thing we need to talk about is qualifying disqualification for Haas because of lack of a tape measure, which Gunther so quickly pointed out that he can borrow mine.
Yeah, this wouldn't have happened with under Gunther's
And then
watch.
if they hadn't been disqualified, would that accident have happened in the first lap?
Yeah, because they started in the pit lane.
Yeah, because they qualified 12th and 15th.
Crazy.
But then they had to start at the back of the grid. Yeah. We'll never know. But on to Canada.
On to Canada, which is a fun race for us because we were there last year, so we kind of know the vibe. So, is it gonna rain? Is it gonna rain? Is it gonna rain? And that's a yes. It's always gonna rain in Canada. But what day? When? Is it qualifying? Is it a free practice? Is it the race?
We'll see.
We were just talking earlier about the rain and Plat being on the West Coast, the desert boy.
It's been a long time since
he doesn't see rain like that.
No, I mean, Vegas. It rains pretty heavily when it does rain. That's why we get like all the monsoons and the flash floods. But man, that rain was something else.
I have never worn
waders,
a rain jacket, waders, waterproof boots, and a poncho at the same time. Like I didn't even bring my own rain jacket because I was like, poncho.
Yeah,
it's like okay. Everything. All you need is a poncho. No. You needed every inch of rain material you have.
That second day we like went to I don't remember what the store was called, but we literally like bought whatever we could find that was waterproof.
It was called Canadian Tire.
Yeah.
And it was Canada's Walmart. Canada's one like Walmart like sports store, but they also had like some groceries.
Yeah.
You know, it was pretty cool.
It was a good time.
But we ended up spending money on. What did you get? What did you end up getting? You got
I
water
had to
shoes.
get water shoes because you guys had most of you had water shoes because you drove up.
I drove up, so I had I had
bought
boots.
waders. I bought waterproof boots, and then I bought. No, I think that was it. And then I just wore my poncho and my rain jacket.
Yeah. See, I forgot my rain jacket, which is stupid to me. I learned a lesson there. Is now at every trip I bring a rain jacket, even if it's a light one. You never know. It's a new thing, and Canada's intense weather taught me that. But I bought a rain jacket and waders because it was just sloshy and I didn't want to get wet on my jeans.
It was all muddy because it was like the dirt that you had to walk to get to the stands. Yeah.
And we were at turn 12, right? Or 14.
So. I think it was 12.
It was the one corner stand. It was very awesome seats. You got a good turn. It's where they slow down. And it was actually where George Russell tapped the wall.
And then
actually Ocon
during practice. Yeah, it was practice. It was that first day. It was that Friday when it rained.
Yeah, it was really nice. We got there. It was fine. We actually didn't expect rain, but we had backpacks and we knew that like we were going to be ready for stuff. It started to rain and everyone's shoes, everyone's pants, we were soaked. And then we had to take the train all the way back to the car because we decided to get the cheapest hotel on the other side of the city.
It was still good though. I had a lot of fun. I would definitely do it again. It was
fine. I would do it again. I would want to stay in the city. Yeah. But that's a tip. If you're going to the Canadian Grand Prix, rain jacket, waders, waterproof shoes, poncho. I promise you will thank yourself. Even if it doesn't rain, you'll be glad you had it. If it would be a miracle if it didn't rain this weekend or the next weekend, but it is most likely going to rain. And it pours there. It is an awesome race. We sat in the stands as it poured rain and just watched, and it was awesome. It was a great
turn
time.
13.
Turn 13.
Yeah, 13, 14.
Yeah. But what a great experience. I'm excited. I'm sad we're not going. But thank you so much for listening or watching. And we'll see you next time as we break down the Canadian Grand Prix. Thank you.